Good morning, party people. I'm in the Portland, Oregon area. I'm about to hit the road and go to IKEA. We got a meet and greet there with several Volvo enthusiasts. We're going to meet at IKEA, hang out an hour or so, and then I'm going to get moving with my day. I got a few people to help north of Portland. I'm going up to Longview and some other town up there, Kalawa or something like that, and just start getting together with people here that need some assistance. So if you are in the Portland, Oregon area within an hour's drive and you need some help, get in touch with me. I'm going to be contacting some more people that I already have on my list to schedule appointments in the next couple of days and just get it done. Now, this video clips I have here, I was working on the transmission pan on this 240 and got it just about all the way done and found out I had the wrong torque wrench. My phone started acting up, battery died, phone locked up. But the only thing I didn't finish on that transmission pan on the video was to get the proper inch-pound torque wrench and torque those bolts down and then tighten the hose clamp. Other than that, it's pretty complete. But, you know, there's a chance that people like David Bellows or something has a better video for that kind of thing. So you can check out his channel. So anyway, I'm in Portland. Get in touch with me, and if you're in the Portland area right now and you got a chance to, jot over to IKEA and hang out for a little bit. Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert. That's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Yesterday was a beautiful day. Today is cold and rainy. I'm going to start off in winter mode again. Not going to force it this time. I do have an up arrow, so I should be in winter mode. Start off in third gear. See if that'll start my shifting right. And see how this goes. If it gets stuck in winter mode like it did last night, I'm going to clear the codes on the fly. That helped me out yesterday. And it's still saying it's up arrow in winter mode, so hopefully it's in third gear. When I get to the traffic light, I'm gonna switch it in sport. See if this thing drives. Man, it feels like it's in first gear. It don't feel like it's in winter mode, but it's supposed to be. I selected winter mode. Do 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 do. Nice and rainy. Nice and rainy today. Yeah, this thing is acting like it's in first gear. It did not fall in winter mode and it is stuck in first gear. Winter mode, man. So when it does go to winter mode, it doesn't want to come out. Yep. Stuck in first gear. Alright, I shifted it down to low. Still got an up arrow. Now I'm out. My up arrow's out. I'm probably good to go. Playing roulette with this PNP switch. You gotta make a stop. Drop cart off the ship at the post office. Stop O'Reilly's, get some RTV for this transmission pan, and head to this 240, baby. Here we are, folks. Time to get to work. Tackle this pan on this 240. It's barely raining out here, so it's not bad. Now the thing with these 240s, older vehicles, RTV is your friend. Now I talked to the guy that owns it. He tried to reseal the pan. I think he dropped the pan, cleaned the filter out, tried to reseal it, didn't reseal good, so it's leaking. Somebody recommended that he cut the dipstick off. So the dipstick's been cut off down under there. I see the clamps on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the pan and try to reseal it. And the thing about the RTV, it tells you to put it on, finger tight, let it sit about an hour, then torque it down, let it sit 24 hours to cure, then fill it up with fluid. So you can't do this all in one day. It's a overnight process. So I'm going to jack it up, chalk the wheels, put it on jack stands, and see about getting this pan off, getting it resealed. If this pan doesn't look damaged, I'm going to go ahead and use the pan that's on there. If it does look damaged, I got a pan for it. Jack this side up, put a jack stand under it. Went and jacked the other side up. Now this jack stand's not stable, so I'm going to bring the jack back over here, jack this side up again, and make sure this jack stand is on our fours. Before I get under here jacking around, gotta be safe. I got 2 jack stands on there. I'm gonna set the parking brake. Hopefully that works. And I got some natural wheel stops. You can put those on both sides, won't hurt. Then I'm gonna leave the jack here in case something happens to the jack stand. And then I'm gonna probably put 2 more jack stands up front here, just for good measure. Then I'm gonna slide under there and mess with this oil pan. None of this stuff's worth getting hurt for. So we got 2 jack stands, a jack, and a backup jack stand here. Not touching, but it's back up nonetheless. So there's a transmission pan that we have leaking somewhere. And this is the hack that was recommended to the owner, that he cut the tube, the transmission dipstick tube, and put it back together. I would probably get some kind of hose that's good, rated for hydraulic oil, and put the hose over there and clamp the hose. So maybe we'll get that going. So I'm going to take this lower clamp loose, take all the bolts out of this transmission pan, drop the pan, check the pan, make sure it's not bent, and if it's not bent, I'm going to put it back up after I do the recommended RTV seal. If it is bent, I'm going to straighten out the holes. Usually if you over tighten those bolts, you'll put a little indentation in the pan. My buddy Handy Dan called it volcanoes. So you could tap those back down flat. So let's see if we could take this loose, take these bolts out of the pan. I'm going to try to drain the pan, make sure there ain't no fluid in there, but I can see the fluid on the side of the pan right here. So let's get to work on this, get this resealed. And we are draining. The drain bolt was a 14. Let me start out by saying, if you need to service your transmission, my recommendations would be to drain, measure what you drained out, fill it back up. Now, as you can see, this fluid is nice and red. If your fluid is not red, then I would recommend you doing a series of drains and refills. They say that this has a transmission filter in there. We'll figure that out in a minute. Now, I understand that these transmission dipstick tubes are extremely hard to loosen and get out. I don't know what the problem method is, whatever. Yeah, maybe they're just 50 years old, that's the problem. But people are cutting the tubes and splicing the tubes together. Again, transmission fluid has so much detergents in there, I would just say drain it, fill it back up in the tube. Actually, one Volvo mechanic I know that specializes in red blocks, he puts a Mighty Vac down in there to suck the fluid out that way, so he don't even have to get down here and pull a bolt, and whatever he pulls out, he puts that much fresh fluid in. And he puts Lucas transmission conditioner, service, whatever stuff in there with the fluid to condition the fluid. You know, he doesn't drop the pan. But we got a pan situation leaking here, so we're going to drop this pan. Hopefully get all this RTV loose and get this pan off and clean all this off and start fresh. So as you can see, that bolt hole is recessed, so of course we don't have all the fluid out there. Still going to be fluid in that pan. So let me go ahead and take that loose. Looks like an 8mm. Take all these bolts around here loose. There shouldn't be enough fluid in there to cause any leakage. But we're going to have to break this loose from the bottom of the transmission because it's got sealant on there. That sealant needs to be broken loose and pull this pan down. And if it's pretty flat, we'll reuse it. If it seems to be obviously bent or bowed, we won't. But these pans are hard to bend since they have this 90-degree bend lip on there. So they're usually not bent. Maybe just have some damage on the bolt holes that needs to be flattened back out. I have no idea what kind of tape stuff that is. I had to cut it off with my knife. But whatever it is, it's pretty gooey. And I'm going to finish cutting it off with my knife, but it looks like that level where it's cut at is kind of low compared to the pan, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to try to get up at that bolt and just replace the dipstick and the pan together with the one I have. I know that top bolt's hard to reach, but it's probably worth doing just to get this cut tube off of here. After I got the bolts out, I started to force my knife into this edge of the pan right here, and it started breaking the sealant loose. And as I slid my knife in a little bit, the sealant broke loose a little more, and I started pulling down on it gently, and it broke loose the whole way around. So this is what the bottom of the transmission looks like with the pan out. Now I don't know where the filter is. It's probably right in here. So if you're going after the filter, you may have to take this down and clean that out and put that back together. But now I need to get all this sealant off of the edge of this pan so I can get this cleaned off, dried off, RTV on the new pan, and stick it up in there so we can start putting this back together. So I'm going to clean this off. I'm going to wipe it down with rags, gently scrape off any sealant on that surface, and get the replacement pan ready to go on, or clean off the old pan to put in them. I prepped the bottom of the transmission. I scraped all of the gasket that was on there, liquid gasket maker stuff, plastic scraper preferred. Then I polished it up with a wire brush, got the surface very clean. Then I wiped it all down with a lint-free cloth. You don't want lint and stuff in your transmission. Then I patted the bottom of the transmission with the rag to try to absorb all of the dripping transmission fluid. Really, you want to make sure that this transmission is done draining, because you don't want no transmission fluid around the mating surface when you put this thing back together. So I see a little piece of gasket there. I'm going to pull this off. You don't want anything floating around in your transmission. So now that that's prepared, I'm going to prepare the pan, clean it very good, scrape it all off. I'm going to probably leave that jacked up tube there and get a hose on that to make it with a hose and clamp the hose on there. It's real hard to get the top bolt of that dipstick tube bracket. You might have to drop the transmission a little bit by lowering the support. So I'm going to leave that alone and try to reseal this pan. So I'm going to take the pan, make sure it's flat, clean its surface, wipe it down with a rag saturated with brake parts cleaner on the surface to get the surface lint free and clean of any oil and dry it. I went around the surface of the transmission with a cloth saturated with brake parts cleaner. I'm going to do the same thing with the pan, and then I'm going to put a bead of sealant on the pan, RTV according to the instructions on it. Find a hose for this tube and get that ready to clamp on and get this thing installed. I'm going to clean this pan out. Had a little magnet in there. I cleaned it off, get all this sealant off of here, and then apply the new sealant. I'm trying to put a 1/4-inch bead around the pan. The pan has a ridge on it, so I'm trying to lay that bead along that ridge. Once I get it all the way around, I'm going to go ahead, put the pan in place, connect that tube to the hose I got down there, clamp that, and then I'm gonna put the bolts in there and just finger tighten the bolts. Then I got a torque wrench over there. They say once you get the bolts finger tight, holding the pan in place, you let it sit for an hour, then you torque it down. That's the best I could get it. I'm gonna touch that little spot right there, make sure that's connected good, put this pan in place, hook this hose up with that rubber I got down there, and then get these screws started. Then I'll tighten this hose after that. Still got a little sticky stuff on there. I thought I got all that off. Oh man, that sticky stuff was horrible. Let me touch that part and put this in place. Let it sit for an hour, then torque it. Put the cap back on the gasket maker. I don't know how to get it out of this tube, but I'm gonna try with a little screwdriver, clean that little tube out, or I could wait till it dry. It may just pull out of there. I put the pan on, put all the bolts in it. They are finger tight. Let me go show you. And then I'm going to torque it, and then I'm going to tighten the tube. I got the tube in place, the clamp in place, but I'm not going to tighten that clamp until I torque the pan. I got all the screws in the pan, and you can see some of the gasket maker come out, but it's only finger tight. I didn't torque it down. They say let it sit 1 hour, then torque it. It's 350, so 445, I'm gonna torque it. It's only like 35 inch-pounds or something. Let me get the torque value for you. It says torque it from 35 to 39 inch-pounds. This wrench starts at 120, so this wrench, I can't even use it. It's too much inch-pounds, too big. So the other option is, I think it said 4 or 5 Newton meters. So this is, I got a challenge on my hand here. I need to go take this wrench back and get one the proper rating. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.